If you filed a tax return, crossed a border, applied for benefits, or drove through a city with smart traffic lights, an algorithm already made a decision about you.
Wait, government? That's the one place I assumed was still running on paperwork.
Still is, in places, but AI is moving fast. And in government, the stakes are higher than anywhere else. Because when an AI gets it wrong here, it's not just inconvenient. It can affect your freedom, your benefits, your rights.
So today, the promise, the wins, and the lines AI should never cross.
Welcome back to Daily AI Wizard. This is AI at Work, Episode 3. Anastasia and Sophia take it from here. And the responsible AI beat this time is the most important one we've covered yet.
Let's start with why this matters. Government isn't one service. It's everything. Your taxes, your benefits, your passport, your roads, your safety. And most of it was built for a pre-digital world. Paper forms, siloed databases, staff stretched too thin, and backlogs that can cost a citizen months of waiting for something they're legally owed. Meanwhile, that same citizen just instant messaged an insurance claim and got paid in 3 seconds. The gap between what people experience from Amazon or their bank and what they experience from government has never been wider. A 2023 Accenture survey found that 73% of citizens now expect the same level of digital service from government as they get from private companies. AI is the gap closer governments are reaching for, and the early numbers are striking. The US Treasury alone used AI to recover or prevent over $4 billion in fraud in a single fiscal year.
Government has always run on data. The census, the tax roll, the benefit register. The first wave was digitization, moving all that paper online. Faster, but still siloed, the tax department didn't talk to the benefits department, and no one had a complete picture of a citizen. The second wave is AI augmentation, systems that can actually learn from the data, spot patterns across silos, automate routine decisions, and flag anomalies at a scale no human team could manage. That shift is what's producing the big numbers we're seeing. Billions in fraud recovered, benefits processed in hours instead of months, roads that adapt in real time. Same mandate government always had: serve citizens efficiently, just with entirely different tools. 4 big areas. 1. Citizen services. The chatbots and automation that process benefits, permits, and passports. 2. Fraud and compliance. Catching benefit fraud, tax evasion, and improper payments before money goes out. 3. Smart cities. AI managing traffic flows, energy grids, and infrastructure in real time. And 4. Public safety. Pattern analysis for policing and emergency response. We'll go deep on all 4, starting with the one closest to every citizen's daily life. Here's what it looks like for a real citizen. You file a benefits application online. AI reads it, checks your details against multiple databases, assesses eligibility, and, if the case is clean and straightforward, issues a decision in hours, not weeks. Complex or ambiguous cases get passed to a human. The IRS is a powerful example. It now runs 126 active AI use cases. Voice bots have handled nearly 5 million calls. Chatbots resolved over 450,000 inquiries, with 42% of users never needing to speak to a human. And Gartner predicted that 40% of government services would have AI-augmented front ends by 2025, a target many agencies are hitting right on cue.
Okay, give me a government case where AI actually moved the needle.
The US Treasury fiscal year 2024. They used to operate on a pay-and-chase model. Send the payment, then try to claw it back if it turned out to be fraud. AI flipped that completely.
How?
2 things. First, machine learning models scanning millions of transactions for risk patterns in real time. They blocked $2.5 billion in high-risk transfers before they ever left the account. Second, deep learning image analysis on physical checks, spotting microscopic signs of tampering invisible to the human eye. Total result? Over $4 billion recovered or prevented, a 6-fold increase on the year before.
6 times better in 1 year.
1 year. That's what happens when you move from reactive to proactive. Second use case, fraud and compliance. And this one is where government AI is producing its most dramatic numbers. In the UK, the Department for Work and Pensions has invested £70 million in AI analytics for universal credit fraud detection. The system spots income inconsistencies, unusual claim patterns, and mismatches with external records, and flags them for human review. Projected savings by 2030? £1.6 billion. In the US, the IRS now uses AI to select which tax returns get audited, prioritizing large corporations, complex partnerships, and high-wealth individuals who were previously hard to catch. The tax gap AI is targeting? A staggering $441 billion a year in uncollected tax. That's not a rounding error. That's bigger than the GDP of most countries. Third use case, smart cities. This is where AI moves from decisions about people to decisions about infrastructure. Adaptive traffic lights that read real-time flow and reduce average journey times by 10 to 25%. Pittsburgh's Surtrack system cut travel time by 25% and emissions by 21%. AI energy grids that forecast demand and balance supply before a blackout happens. And predictive maintenance. Sensors on bridges, pipes, and roads feeding data into models that flag a structural problem weeks before it becomes a disaster. The shift is from respond when it breaks to never let it break. Same idea as insurance's predict and prevent, applied to the city itself. Fourth use case, public safety. And this is the most contested area in all of government AI. At its best, AI analyzes crime patterns to help police direct resources efficiently, and emergency services respond faster. At its worst, it becomes predictive policing, algorithms that try to forecast where crime will happen or who is likely to commit it before any crime has occurred. The Los Angeles Police Department ran a system called Predpol for years. In 2021, they scrapped it. It had low accuracy, and critics showed it disproportionately sent police to already over-policed, lower-income minority neighborhoods, creating a feedback loop that compounded existing bias. Europe drew a clear line. Article 5 of the EU AI Act, in force since February 2025, explicitly prohibits AI systems that predict the probability of an individual committing a crime.
So government AI can genuinely help people. What makes it different from banking or insurance?
The power difference. A bank's AI gets your loan wrong, and you apply elsewhere. An insurance AI overcharges you, and you switch providers. But a government AI is often the only option, and it has coercive power no company has. A wrongly denied benefit can mean someone can't pay rent. A wrongly flagged tax return triggers an audit that ruins a small business. A biased policing algorithm can put someone in a pattern of over-scrutiny that follows them for years.
So the stakes for getting it right and the consequences of getting it wrong are categorically higher.
Exactly. Which is exactly why the responsible AI question in government isn't just important. It's non-negotiable. $4 billion in 1 year from one department. That's not a government efficiency gain. That's a transformation. And it's your money the Treasury kept out of fraudsters' hands. Multiply that across every agency, every country, every year that AI compounds its learning, and you start to understand why governments are moving fast on this, despite the risks. Same 4-step loop as banking or insurance, with one critical difference at the end. Step 1. Data. Citizen records, past claims, tax filings, payment histories, at a scale almost no private sector organization touches. Step 2. Train. Models learn the difference between a legitimate universal credit claim and a fraudulent one, a routine tax return and a high-risk one. Step 3. Decide. Flag suspicious cases, automate clean ones, escalate edge cases to humans. Step 4. And this is the crucial one in government, audit. Not optional, not nice to have. In a democracy, automated government decisions must be explainable, appealable, and regularly tested. That's a legal and constitutional requirement in most countries, and it's where governments are still catching up.
Okay, we've talked about the upside. Let's be honest about what can go catastrophically wrong.
3 things, and they all get worse because it's government. First, algorithmic bias. Government data carries centuries of structural inequality. Who got policed, who got audited, who was denied benefits. Train a model on that data, and it learns those biases as patterns to repeat. At government scale, that's not a product flaw. It's systemic discrimination written into law. Second, surveillance creep. The same AI that optimizes your city's traffic lights can be pointed at faces in a crowd. Facial recognition plus data fusion across government databases can slide from helpful to authoritarian faster than any legal framework can keep up with.
And the third, mini.
No appeal, no reason. The Dutch tax authority used an AI fraud detection system that flagged thousands of families, disproportionately ethnic minorities, as fraudulent benefit claimants. Many lost everything before the system was exposed. The government resigned.
So a government resigned over an AI system. What does doing it right look like?
3 technical safeguards to start. Human review on all high-stakes decisions. Benefits, audits, policing flags, explainable models so a citizen can actually understand why they were denied, and independent algorithmic impact assessments before any AI system touches citizens' lives.
And the law?
The EU AI Act is the strongest framework in the world right now. Article 5 bans AI crime prediction on individuals outright. High-risk government AI, benefits decisions, biometric surveillance, critical infrastructure. Requires mandatory human oversight, transparency, and registration, and courts are enforcing it. The Netherlands' Siri welfare fraud system was struck down by a court for violating human rights. Democratic accountability for government AI isn't optional, and the legal machinery to enforce it is now real.
So the standard for government AI has to be higher than anywhere else.
It has to be the highest standard there is.
So where does government AI go from here?
The biggest concept is what some governments call proactive service. Today, you have to know what you're entitled to and go ask for it. The vision is an AI that already knows your situation, with your consent, and comes to you. You just had a child. Here's the parental leave you qualify for, the childcare credits, the school registration. You turned 65. Here's your pension, your healthcare entitlements, the local services available to you. No forms, no waiting. Government that actually serves.
That sounds almost utopian.
It does. And it's also the use case that most requires getting the privacy, the consent, and the democratic accountability right first. The same infrastructure that delivers proactive services could, in the wrong hands, become a surveillance state. That's not a reason to stop. It's a reason to build it right.
Oliver, bring it home. What should people remember?
4 things. 1. Government AI is already here, deciding your taxes, your benefits, your city's roads, and your neighborhood's policing priorities. 2. The wins are genuinely significant. $4 billion in fraud prevented, benefits in hours, cities that move. 3. Public safety is the most contested use of all, and predictive policing has gone badly wrong when guardrails weren't in place. And 4, the most important, the stakes in government are higher than anywhere else, because government has power that no private company has. Democratic accountability isn't a nice-to-have. It's the only acceptable standard.
Because the best government AI doesn't replace democracy. It serves it.
Perfectly put. Next up, AI in healthcare, where the algorithm might help save your life.
If you found this valuable, subscribe and tell us in the comments what industry you want next. I'm Olga.
And I'm Oliver. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.